Hello third graders, in today's lessons we're going to be comparing fractions. So what is a fraction? A fraction represents a part of a whole. It is written with the numerator, which is also known as the top number, and a denominator, which is known as the bottom number. The numerator indicates to us the number of parts that we have, and the denominator represents the amount of equal parts the whole is divided into. Let's do an example. As it says here, A is the numerator, which represents the parts we have, and B is the denominator, which represents the equal parts, which the unit is divided into. And the line between the numerator and the denominator is also known as the fraction bar. Let's compare fractions visually. To compare fractions visually, it is helpful to use a visual representation, such as a fraction bar or a pie chart. A fraction bar divides a whole into equal parts, with the numerator representing the shaded or colored parts. Here in the photos, you can see a pie chart and a fraction bar. We're going to be comparing fractions with the same numerator, 3/5 or 3/8. Using a fraction bar, we can shade 3 out of 5 parts and 3 out of 8 parts. When we look at the bars, we can see that 3/5 is greater than 3/8 because the shaded portion is larger. Now let's compare fractions with the same denominator, 4/7 or 2/7. Using a fraction bar, we shaded 4 out of 7 parts and 2 out of 7 parts. By comparing, we can see that 4/7 is larger than 2/7 because it has more shaded parts. Now let's compare fractions that have different numerators and denominators, 3/4 or 5/6. By using the fraction bar, we shade out 3 out of 4 parts and 5 out of 6 parts. We can see that 5/6 is slightly larger than 3/4. Here it might be a bit harder to visually compare. Comparing fractions algebraically. To compare fractions algebraically, we cannot convert the fractions to common denominators and then compare the numerator. Let's do some examples of comparing fractions algebraically. 2/3 or 3/5. To compare these two fractions algebraically, we first have to find the least common denominator. In this case, the least common denominator is 15. Then we convert both of the fractions to this common denominator. Converting 2/3 to a fraction with a denominator of 15, we can do 2/3 multiplied by 5/5, which is 10/15. Converting 3/5 to a fraction with a denominator of 15, 3/5 multiplied by 3/3, which is equal to 9/15. Now that both of the fractions have the same denominator, we can compare the numerators. We can see that 10/15 from 2/3 is greater than 9/15 from 3/5. Thank you so much, third graders, for watching today's video. And make sure to go to the third grade's Google Classroom and do the quiz on comparing fractions. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.